Who is Def Noodles?
Today we're going to be talking about the biggest crybaby on the internet. He's extremely sensitive to criticism. He's cringe, he's unfunny, he's toxic. I'm talking about Def Noodles. So buckle up, folks. Today's video is going to be a nightmare.
Def Noodles is an online news personality who reports in the style that he refers to as satirical news. He describes himself as a mix between The Soup and The Colbert Report, a satirical take on internet news and drama hosted by a cat in a Minecraft house. The Def Noodles persona is portrayed by a man called Dennis Feitosa. Dennis also goes under another alias that he has multiple accounts under, and that is GoWithDennis. On YouTube, Def Noodles has a respectable subscriber count, sitting at around 500,000. And over on Twitter, he also has a decent sized following of over 50,000 followers. His YouTube content revolves around him reporting on internet news with a fast pace, throwing in constant jokes. And as for his Twitter content, that's primarily him again reporting on internet drama, although he likes to throw in some hyperbole to spice things up a little bit. And this is something that has drawn him many critics. Def Noodles has been highly criticised in the past year or so, mainly over his inability to handle criticism well. But not just that, but also because of his tendency to excuse all of his faults as him just playing a character, as it just all being jokes. Def Noodles consistently posts what a lot of people would refer to as bad takes over on his Twitter account. For example, there is this recent incident where he claimed that David Dobrik was normalizing alcoholism simply over a TikTok that he had posted. There was also another incident not too long ago where Def Noodles saw a video of Charlie D'Amelio vaping. He wasn't very happy to see Charlie vaping, and so he actually reached out to Charlie's parents to ask them for their thoughts on her vaping habits. Most people seem to agree at the time that this was a very strange and weird thing for Def Noodles to do, and perhaps even highly inappropriate. Back in November 2020, small YouTuber Grady Hooper posted a video to his YouTube channel titled "The Problem with Def Noodles." In this video, Grady lays out a lot of arguments against Def Noodles, a lot of very fair criticisms, and one of the main ones that he brings up right at the start of the video is that Def Noodles does not respond well to criticism.
Hey guys, Def Noodles is the newest star drama channel on YouTube, but he's extremely sensitive for a critic. He's unfunny, he's cringy, toxic, and his Twitter is a mess.
On December 2nd, 2 days after Grady's video was posted onto YouTube, Def Noodles decided to take to his Twitter, where he posted this tweet. "Absolute genius makes video telling the world he's madly in love with me." Before this tweet was posted by Def Noodles, Grady's video had less than 100 views, which prompted a lot of people to wonder, just why is Def Noodles posting such a passive-aggressive response to this tiny little YouTuber? As we already said, one of Grady's main points in his video was that Def Noodles did not respond well to criticism. So isn't it quite amusing that in response to this video criticism, Def Noodles responded in a passive-aggressive, negative way? Something that many people have argued that is essentially a way for Def Noodles to goad his followers, to goad his audience into going over to Grady's video and dislike bombing that video, or just in general reacting to it in some sort of negative way. Now, I'm not sure about you, but for me, that's not the kind of response someone would have if they weren't so upset about being criticised. Fortunately for Grady, however, a bunch of other YouTubers caught onto this situation. Many of these YouTubers backed Grady up, and because of this, Grady actually came out of the situation gaining a few thousand subscribers. And now this brings me to talk about September 2019. A year prior to the Grady Hooper situation, when commentary YouTuber Kavos decided to roast Def Noodles' YouTube channel for a few minutes during a segment on his live stream.
I don't need some douchebag to tell me how to interpret my meme.
You know, that's totally fine. I totally get it. Outside of the fact that I'm a douchebag, I don't find myself to be a douchebag. I don't know what in my video caused you to think that I'm a douchebag. But I totally understand that. And that's totally your prerogative. And that's why you don't have to click on that video. That's why nobody, in fact, has to click on that video. The people who click on it are the people who are seeking that out. And that's what I offer. I offer, you know, a fun way to talk about an event that's happening.
In response to this, Def Noodles posted a video called Kavos Roasted My Channel. And in this video, he watched back the segment from Kavos and responded to it point by point. Which, if you ask me, is really bizarre. I think it's bizarre that he actually sat in front of his camera, looking like he was about to cry, responding point by point to Kavos essentially saying that he didn't like his channel. This entire video really does show that Def Noodles must certainly be insecure, not just with himself, but also with his content. But folks, that's not where this ended, because a week after posting this response video, Def Noodles posted another video, this time titled, Kavos Made Me Want to Quit YouTube. And this video really does show us that Def Noodles is probably not in the right business.
I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys. I've just been kind of sad over the past few days, ever since that whole thing with Kavos, where he basically tore my channel apart. I am kind of going through a small personal crisis, if that's what you can call it. I just feel really, really bad right now.
If Def Noodles were a superhero, his weakness, his kryptonite, would be criticism. The man literally collapses. He mentally folds when people express negative opinions towards him. How this man survived in the world of stand-up comedy is beyond me. Stand-up is such a harsh, unforgiving world. And in that world, you are bound, you are guaranteed to bomb at some point. You are for sure gonna get heckled. I am genuinely flabbergasted at how Def Noodles has somehow emerged from the world of stand-up comedy without his brain turning to mush. Def Noodles is also someone who is very prone to hitting the block button the moment someone doesn't agree with him or expresses any sort of criticism towards him. As we've already briefly covered, a lot of people are very, very critical of Def Noodles and the way he conducts himself online. And that, as you might have guessed, has led to him blocking many, many people. However, one person that wasn't quite so critical of Def Noodles was news and commentary YouTuber Repzilla. Just a few weeks ago, at the start of February this year, Repzilla was posting numerous tweets on his Twitter account defending the character of Def Noodles. I gotta say, @Def Noodles is a good dude. That's it, and that's all. Blocking someone doesn't make you a bad person, and context matters. When Dennis blocks, it's not the same as when Chris Hansen blocks. Show me any one terrible thing that Def Noodles has done and post it here. I have no issue with you, but if you mean to tell me that Def Noodles is the worst, I will say no. He is a good dude that navigates a few things poorly, but he has been attacked as well via race shaming and more. But then, things changed. In mid-February 2021, YouTuber John Swan got into a little bit of drama with huge Minecraft YouTuber Dream. Without spending too much time explaining this drama, the gist of it was essentially that Dream had accused John Swan of impersonating him. And Dream said that while impersonating him, John Swan had spoken to some of his fans, used racial slurs, and also mentioned some sort of Minecraft sex mod. John's defense to this was that a 12-year-old family friend had actually been the one who had done this, and that John had been showing this kid about YouTube and had foolishly logged in to his Discord and Twitter accounts on this kid's laptop and then forgot to log out when he left. This was drama that actually originated back in 2019, but it had remained private between both John and Dream until this point. Back in 2019, John Swan and Dream had worked together for a Minecraft documentary that John had put up on his channel. John had defended himself and explained his side in DMs to Dream, but Dream never got back to him because he didn't believe him. But it wasn't until just this year, 2021, that a Reddit post emerged where Dream had brought up this situation pertaining to both him and John Swan and basically bashed John Swan's character. That is when this drama started to go public and everyone started to hear about it. John Swan felt the need to defend himself on Twitter since this huge YouTuber had just made allegations against him, and from there the entire thing just proceeded to blow up. Now, as with any drama situation, obviously there were a lot of different takes on this situation. Lots of people came to John Swan's defense, vouching for his character, saying that there's nothing in his past that would suggest that he would be lying about this or would suggest that he would have actually done this. And there were also loads more people on Dream's side. People claiming that John's excuse was a poor one and we should not let it slide. And then there was Def Noodles' take. Call out. Dream exposes small commentary YouTuber for making account impersonating Dream and using fake Dream accounts to say racial slurs and try to have sexual interactions with fans. Totally unexpected, Dream exposes alt-right commentary YouTubers John Swan and Nicholas DeOrio. Dream recaps why he believes alt-right commentary YouTuber John Swan. Dream breaks down further why he believes alt-right commentator John Swan and Nicholas DeOrio conspired. Dream points out alt-right YouTuber John Swan exposed alt-right YouTuber John Swan. Seeing how alt-right YouTuber John Swan, breaking news that will most definitely change your life. Dream addresses on Drama Alert allegations involving alt-right YouTuber John Swan.
And Dream exposing an alt-right YouTuber.
That's right. Def Noodles decided to act like not only that Dream had exposed John Swan, a word that implies that something has actually been proven, that John Swan has been proven guilty without any shred of a doubt. Not only did he also imply that John Swan had been sexual with Dream's fans, which is a total lie, but he also labelled John Swan as alt-right. And it didn't stop after one single tweet. And it didn't stop after people called Def Noodles out on this. Def Noodles continued to post tweet after tweet, calling John Swan, Nicholas DeOrio, and others alt-right YouTubers. And then he did it on YouTube as well. Dream exposed an alt-right YouTuber. This is slander to the highest degree. Extremist groups have no place on my channel or in my audience. I'm not political. I've never tweeted anything serious about politics, ever. And as you'd expect, a lot of people called out Def Noodles for what was quite clearly blatant slander. And if you take a look at the replies to any of the aforementioned Def Noodles tweets, you will find no shortage of people contesting his claims and demanding evidence to back up his labelling of John Swan and others as alt-right. But let's rewind a little bit. Just before this entire bit of drama started between John Swan and Dream, Def Noodles had already taken aim at Nicholas DeOrio, Augie RFC, and Boblax, falsely claiming that they had maliciously enticed their audience to create a fake Parler account under the Def Noodles name and to use that account to post racist messages. Def Noodles even went as far as to say that he was considering legal action. And as for proof to back up his claims here, he posted a clip of those three guys all in a live stream talking where this idea had been brought up in jest. However, the video that Def Noodles posted on his Twitter, the clip he actually used to show the proof that these people had tried to entice their audience into doing this horrible thing to him, it had been trimmed. It had been trimmed and taken out of context. And this clip literally stopped playing right before Nicholas DeOrio could be audibly heard saying that he disavowed what was just said and that he did not want anyone to do that. Def Noodles later tried to correct the record, claiming that he did not have access to the full clip at the time of posting what he posted. He claimed that he was unaware of what was actually said and that it was simply a mistake. And this is what brings us back to good old Repzilla, the man who was arguably Def Noodles' final notable ally in the YouTube commentary sphere. Well, despite Repzilla giving Def Noodles the benefit of the doubt in the Nicholas DeOrio situation, he wasn't too impressed with Def Noodles' smear attempts against John Swan. It's mind-blowing to see Def Noodles go after John Swan, calling him alt-right. This is the reason. There have been major disagreements between Dennis, Def Noodles, and John Swan, Augie, Nick DeOrio, as most of you have known. I've been a neutral party who attempted to mediate just because I liked all the dudes. It really wasn't my place, but I was in a unique position to talk to both sides, and so I did. I fully believed it was mostly a miscommunication between the parties and that both had done wrong, but then Dennis clipped Nick out of context to make him look bad. When I asked Dennis about this, he told me he did not see the entire clip and was sorry. I relayed this and asked Nick if he wanted to work things out. Nick said no, he didn't trust Dennis. I understood that. I told Dennis that Nick didn't want to work things out. I gave it my best shot. I truly believed Dennis was innocent and just made a mistake. But now, with this incredibly public situation with Dream, it's clear to me Dennis is using it as an opportunity to get back at them. I don't know any other way to see it, because if Dennis was truthful to me about making mistakes, then he would have known to stay out of this, and how it would make him look to us creators behind the scenes. I feel pretty disappointed in the entire situation. And then it happened again. Def Noodles blocked someone. He blocked Repzilla. And what exactly prompted such a block? Well, Repzilla claims that it was the result of this direct message that he had sent to Def Noodles. I'm pretty disappointed with the route you have taken. That is all I'm going to say on it. but if you need to talk, I'm still here. Yeah, that was it. A respectful message informing Def Noodles that he didn't agree with his actions as of late. But it's okay, he's still there to talk if he needs to talk. This was undoubtedly a friendly, respectful message. Yet Def Noodles blocked him all the same. And so now, Def Noodles has lost his last notable ally in the community. Repzilla later went on to explain his ties to Def Noodles a little bit more. I think it's important context to explain why I defended Def Noodles in the first place. On multiple occasions when I was in a bad mental health space, Dennis reached out to me to make sure I was okay or to give some uplifting advice. Those times meant a lot to me, so I considered him a good friend. I wanted to return the favour and often checked on him as well. Guess I became a bit protective over my friend when the accusations started rolling out, and I was blinded. I'm sorry about that. I was wrong. I will not let it change me. Everyone's experiences are different, and I have never been a follower and choose to see things for myself. I give people the benefit of the doubt until they give me a reason. Sometimes it takes me a bit longer than others. I don't see this as a bad quality. After Def Noodles blocked Repzilla, he actually took to his other Twitter account, GoWithDennis, you know, his personal one where he claims to not be in character, and he posted this banger of a tweet. If I block someone, trust me, it's for good reason. And if that person turns to Twitter and immediately starts crying about it, then you should be suspicious that they're probably just reaching for attention. Honestly, I don't think that tweet requires any sort of response. And now you might have been wondering, did Def Noodles ever try to justify or explain why he had called John Swan alt-right? And oh boy, did he. Again, over on his GoWithDennis Twitter account, where he's supposed to be out of character, being serious, he posted this tweet. When I say alt-right commentary YouTuber, it's a joke. But every joke comes from a place of truth. Highly recommend this book for anyone who wants to understand. That's right, Dennis, Def Noodles, whatever you want to call him, he actually claimed that calling John Swan and others alt-right was simply a joke. That's right. A joke! Now we're going to ignore the fact that this is the same guy who has made many tweets about how jokes about race are not funny and that they are wrong. And sure, he's not making fun of race directly here, but surely you'd think that joking about someone else being some sort of racist would also be a breach of this moral code of comedy that Dennis likes to preach. But hey, maybe that's just me being far too presumptuous. However, that wasn't all he had said in that tweet, because immediately after actually claiming that the alt-right label, the alt-right comment had been a joke, he actually went on to say that every joke comes from a place of truth, implying that it wasn't actually a joke, and that John Swan and others are exactly what he had previously claimed. And he also tried to act like he was some sort of intellectual by also recommending this truthing comedy book, as though everyone who disagrees with him must just not understand comedy, and he's going to help you understand by recommending this book to you. Thanks a lot, Dennis. I've never known what was funny before. I've never known when I should laugh and when I shouldn't. Thank you so much for your recommendation. I'll go read that so I know what I'm allowed to laugh at and what I'm not allowed to laugh at. Thanks a lot. Dennis then went on to post another tweet about this, and this one was aiming to show where this alt-right joke about John Swan had actually stemmed from. He was trying to show where the truth had come from, where the truth in the joke lay. I've highlighted the most important part of the definition of alt-right. John Swan's past comments and the criticism he's received, particularly from the LGBTQ+ community, show what I mean. And so Def Noodles attached the definition of the word alt-right to this tweet, highlighting a specific section. Use of online media to disseminate provocative content, often expressing opposition to racial, religious, or gender equality. But what I would ask here is, where is the evidence of John Swan ever expressing opposition to any of those things? Def Noodles posted a screenshot of this video. John Swan does not deserve your support. Transphobic. And in this thumbnail you can see that John Swan made a tweet saying, "Got a love for the people who are so anti-discriminatory that they use terms like sachet to discriminate against a specific group of people." And now, I don't know about you, but absolutely nothing in this thumbnail suggests to me that there's any proof, again, of John Swan being transphobic. I mean, saying that you're against the term sachet, or that you're against people discriminating because someone is sachet, then does that really equate to transphobia? Of course not. And finally, Def Noodles also attached this tweet from this random LGBTQ account who said, "Throwback to when I was in E-Boys fandom May last year, when John Swan defended a racist who yelled racist and homophobic slurs down a Discord call to us despite us being patient, and also defended his fans' use of the N-word and other slurs. Anyway, so glad he's not fucked up again, /S. And as far as this tweet goes, what exactly does this prove either? This is another claim. All of this is just claims. There is no evidence here about John Swan being alt-right. All of this stuff that Def Noodles has supplied in this tweet is hearsay. It's allegations with no evidence whatsoever. There is no evidence that John Swan defended racists for racist reasons. There is also no evidence that John Swan is transphobic. There is absolutely no evidence anywhere that John Swan is alt-right. And if there was evidence, then Dennis would be supplying it, rather than just supplying screenshots of people who are from the LGBT community claiming that John Swan is a horrible person. There is a difference between having a screenshot of someone making an accusation and actually having proof of someone being what the accusation claimed that they are. And so now in my mind, we're seemingly left with Dennis unwilling to commit to a stance. Was it a joke? Does he actually think John Swan is alt-right? Well, don't bother asking, because he's just going to tell you that it's a joke. But also, jokes come from truth. And a couple of random LGBT people claimed that John Swan defended a racist, although Dennis has never actually shown any proof of John Swan defending some sort of racist for racist reasons. In fact, he has never even shown proof of a single thing that John Swan has ever done that could be considered racist or alt-right. And that's because he has no evidence of such behaviour. And so now we get to Def Noodles' favourite line of defence. It's just a character. Disclaimer, Def Noodles is a character created by Dennis Feitosa, meant to satirise some of the most deranged, toxic and destructive aspects of internet culture. Def Noodles borrows from Twitter outrage, modern day commentary cynicism, excessive clickbait, trolling, buzzword hacking, cancel culture, and outright pandering to righteous indignation to reflect on the realities of contemporary social media interactions and media coverage. The opinions and thoughts expressed by Def Noodles are not a reflection on Dennis Feitosa's beliefs. This disclaimer applies to all Def Noodles social media platforms. Def Noodles, at every turn, when called out for doing something wrong, always resorts to the same line of defense. And that is that it was not him, it was not Dennis who did this thing, it was not Dennis who acted badly, but rather it was his character, the character he's playing. It was Def Noodles. That pesky Def Noodles was the one who did that. Dennis didn't call John Swan alt-right. Dennis didn't get that story wrong. It was Def Noodles who got that wrong. It was Def Noodles who said that slanderous thing. And now, if I'm being fair here, I think there is maybe something to that. I can completely understand and relate to the concept of acting as a character that completely believes something that you yourself do not believe. I literally have countless videos on another channel of mine where I do this exact thing. However, there are many glaring problems with this in Def Noodles' situation. The first is that he is quite clearly accusing people of potentially career-altering things, such as calling John Swan alt-right or calling Augie RFC a fascist, which the two of them then later debated for 3 hours straight. So okay, sure, Dennis may claim that he doesn't actually believe these things that the Def Noodles character are saying about John Swan or about Augie, and that it's simply the character who is making this stuff up. It's simply the character who's going after them. That's part of the gimmick. I get it. But the problem is, you, Dennis, are still the one coming up with the ideas. You're still the one coming up with the basis. You're the one coming up with these claims for your character to then push out. These claims, these ideas still come from your head that you then transfer into the mind of this character you've created to then spread about. And you are very well aware of the potential damage that claims such as calling someone alt-right could do. When I personally first started following the Def Noodles Twitter account, all I saw and was aware of was a guy posting drama and internet news stories. I thought it was a good source of information, a good place to keep informed. I follow a lot of news sources on Twitter, and I thought, okay, here's another one to add to my collection, so to speak. I had no reason to believe that any of the information being relayed to me could in fact be false or slanderous or a smear. Yes, there was this pinned tweet about how the account operates and about how there's comedy thrown in there and it's a lot of satire. But that's simply not acceptable when you take the fact that you actually are reporting on factual news. You are reporting real facts. When you take the news stories from Def Noodles' Twitter account, these are things that are actually happening. He is largely reporting on things in a factual manner. He is largely reporting on things saying this is what has happened. And more often than not, what he's saying is true. And so it's simply not acceptable for you to take a factual story and then throw in a random, slanderous, incorrect statement there into the mix. Doing such confuses people, and people are not going to be able to tell the difference between what is the true part of the news and what is your hyperbole or your satire. People believe the things you're saying because you're talking about serious topics. It's different when you make actual jokes or when you use obviously humorous or outrageous terms to describe people. But if we go back to the John Swan versus Dream situation again, since we've already covered that, the tweets made there were entirely serious. Def Noodles was reporting on the drama that was going on. The only part that Dennis then later claimed was not serious out of the entire thing was the claim of John Swan being alt-right. How can you expect someone to look at this tweet and think, wow, that's a great joke in there calling John Swan alt-right? Absolutely hilarious. My sides have never hurt so much. I can't stop laughing. Great one, Def Noodles. You sure got me. Meanwhile, the rest of the tweet is pertaining to allegations about John's character. If you are claiming that you cannot see the problem here, I think you're being disingenuous. And now the second problem with the Def Noodles is just a character defense is that it simply doesn't hold up. On the GoWithDennis Twitter account, which Dennis claims is the account where he is out of character, where he is not acting as Def Noodles, where he is being entirely serious. This account has repeatedly expressed the same or similar viewpoints as the Def Noodles account has. We have situations where on the one hand, Dennis will say that he doesn't believe in the things Def Noodles is saying, and that they're all jokes. That's not what he believes in. But then Dennis will turn around and say that all jokes are based on truth. And so suddenly, if everything Def Noodles is saying is based on truth, then suddenly calling John Swan alt-right isn't simply a joke. Calling OGRFC a fascist isn't simply a joke. They are based on truth.
I mean, that's a pretty dumb take, right? Would you agree with that? That's a pretty dumb idea to have. That unless you're having an affair, it's not a good relationship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the joke. It's the irony of it is like I'm seeing these things and I'm validating them.
In my view, the big problem here is clearly that Dennis blends his Def Noodles character too much with himself. There is simply not enough separation here between the two entities. Okay, Def Noodles is a character, and perhaps that is not exactly the same as Dennis. But in my view, it is pretty clear that Def Noodles is an extension of Dennis. He is not an entirely separate entity, regardless of what Dennis would have us believe. And if you need proof of this, then what better proof is there than the fact that Dennis consistently feels the need to personally defend his Def Noodles character when it is criticised. Dennis says that Def Noodles is just a character. But if that is truly the case, then why doesn't Dennis realise that criticism against Def Noodles is not criticism against him, but rather it is criticism against his character? Dennis clearly sees an attack on Def Noodles as an attack on himself. And that's because Def Noodles is a part of him. Def Noodles is blended into Dennis's very being. They are not entirely separate entities, but rather they are extensions of one another. So where do things go from here? Will Dennis, Def Noodles, continue on the same path? Will he continue to block everyone that dares to criticize him? Will he continue to slander people and then excuse it as satire? Well, personally, I think he's likely to continue doing all of those things. But that's not to say that he can't change. He has the ability to improve himself. He has the ability to recognize his flaws and to work on them. But he cannot do that so long as he keeps refusing to hear criticism. Dennis, if by some chance you ever end up watching this, I'd like to go back to the idea of stand-up comedy, an area which I believe you're very familiar with. Surely you've had to take criticism as your time as a comic. Surely you've had people tell you what works and what doesn't work. Surely you've at least had to listen to some critique and take it on board. Well, I implore you, Dennis, do the same thing with YouTube. Do the same thing with your Def Noodles character. Listen to the critiques. They are not coming from nowhere.